This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, and here today, Sandra Smith, host of Kennedy on the Fox Business Network, Kennedy herself, co-host of After the Bell, also on FBN, Melissa Francis.
I can't top that look that she just did. I'm not even going to try.
And today's hashtag, Lucky Guy, host of
baby.
Making Money. Fox Business's Charles Payne is outnumbered.
Outnumbered, yeah, absolutely.
Happy Independence Day, my friend.
Thank you very much. It's a great day to be here.
Yeah.
You're always making money. This guy
I'm always trying. This is a great, last week was a great week to make money.
Oh.
No, I love hearing that, Charles.
Yeah,
you
know,
very
making money.
That's right.
The markets
Buy
are
the
closed
dips.
today, so we get the pleasure of your presence.
Absolutely.
On the couch.
I get to let my hair down.
And what beautiful hair.
He's a regular Rapunzel.
All right, speaking of Rapunzel, the wild primary season moving clearly into the rearview mirror with the party's conventions looming large. Just 2 weeks from today, Republicans will gather in Cleveland to choose their nominee for President of the United States. And the following week, the Democrats will do the same in Philadelphia. And during those conventions, if not before, we should learn whom each presumptive nominee, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, will choose as a running mate. Of the 9 people most often mentioned on Trump's list, 4 are women. On Clinton's most often mentioned list, 8 people, including 1 woman, and several people of color. Charles Payne, your thoughts?
You know, it's interesting. Donald Trump, they say, needs sort of a balancing act, maybe someone with experience who can navigate Washington, D.C., but also someone to bring up his weak areas in polling, which obviously are non-white and women. On the Hillary side, they say she needs someone who might be crazy. So...
That's not what they say.
It's not? Okay. Well, someone to bring in that Bernie Sanders enthusiasm, if you will. That kind of leads
to someone illogical.
But fun. Yeah. Illogical but fun. We want to have the crazy uncle on Thanksgiving. We want to know that maybe he or she, has the nuclear codes.
Would you at least rule out Elizabeth Warren as her running mate?
I would not rule it out. Absolutely not. She's already campaigned with her. Elizabeth Warren has been the most effective attack dog on Donald Trump on either side of the aisle so far this election season. She's fearless. She wholeheartedly believes in what she believes in, despite the fact that it goes against all economic norms and everything else. But, you wonder about that combination.
Yeah, maybe we knew her fearlessness when we showed up.
Which part of it? The fact that she's harshly against Wall Street and big banks, and Hillary Clinton gets a lot of campaign funding from them?
Well, that's something they have to reconcile, and I guess they did since she endorsed her. But more importantly, she's an anti-business in general. She made it clear last week. She said, don't limit my anti-businessness just to Wall Street, and I do worry about that. Wow. And we need a jump start in our economy.
Yeah, I was going to say Elizabeth Warren also, kind of brandishing her fearlessness when she showed up wearing the same color pantsuit as Hillary Clinton.
I thought it only came in one color, but that's just me.
As far as the Donald Trump shortlist, Corey Lewandowski says it's actually narrowed to 4. It's no more than 4 on the short list. And he was saying that the person that he picks is going to be ready and able to serve, because he says that's what's on the short list. And there's no on-the-job training that would be necessary, indicating it was somebody who served in office.
Sorry, Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina, you are not going to be the next Vice President of the United States.
Why do you say that?
Because if Corey Lewandowski, who has been the campaign manager for the Trump campaign, is echoing what Donald Trump himself has said, which is whoever my vice president is going to be, they will have political experience to make up for what Donald Trump lacks, then it's not going to be Carly Fiorina and Ben Carson.
So we have seen Donald Trump in the past few weeks do some things. He's talked foreign policy, economics. He's kind of has a crispness to his message that's less about the personal attacks and more about exactly what he thinks he wants to do in those topics and others.
Yeah.
So going forward, what is his real area that he needs shoring up? Because he's already showing he's got the people on his team now that can help him in some of those areas he'd previously been criticized for.
I think that people are too sophisticated. It's too insulting that if you pick someone of color or a woman, that immediately women and people of color then vote for that candidate. I think
except for the fact that it has worked. I mean, when you look at President Obama and how many people of color voted for him, I mean,
no, but I think that's a little different. That's not putting your vice president on. Like, saying that there's so many people that say he needs to pick a Hispanic or someone to be his vice president, and then that'll erase any offensive things he may have said in the past, that sort of thing. I don't think that works. I do think there is some logic to the idea that he needs somebody who knows how to operate within government and, would make voters nervous to see 2 wild card candidates who have no government government experience. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's too bad that Condoleezza Rice has taken herself out of the running, because there's somebody who has government experience, who has military understanding. I mean, she has like so many different things that he's lacking. You kind of would like somebody who would
and she's very likable. So she's kind of a different type of a woman than Hillary Clinton.
Can I just make one point about this very quickly? Is we've seen three pretty spry presidents in a row in Clinton, George W. Bush, and President Obama. I mean, they were certainly on the younger side of some of their predecessors. Yeah, and now you have people who are going to be close to 70. So actually, a vice president is a really important pick, because if you follow insurance company actuaries, they're heading down on the.
But Donald Trump didn't make that a secret. He said, in addition to he's interested in somebody who's served in public office, he said he would be looking for somebody.
But it's a real consideration that the vice president might actually have to step in.
I have a four-letter word, though, that I think, in terms of what you were saying with Donald Trump and his messaging going forward and where he might shore himself up with a VP, just make it about jobs.
All right.
Yeah.
A couple people on the couch won't disagree with that. All right. He may not be Bernie Sanders, but when it comes to winning over young people, it looks like Donald Trump isn't doing so bad after all. The presumptive Republican nominee winning more support so far from younger voters than the last two GOP presidential candidates. That's according to a new analysis out of Tufts University. Before the other Republican candidates suspended their campaigns, Trump was receiving an average 33% of the youth vote per state. Compare that to John McCain's average of 29% and Mitt Romney's 28% back when they were running. Trump also getting more youth votes during the primaries than Hillary Clinton, but far fewer than Sanders. All right, so Trump winning more support from younger voters. Are you surprised by that?
To a degree, I am, because the headlines were always about Bernie Sanders, who overwhelmingly, I mean, listen, we would see 50,000 young voters show up at these Bernie Sanders events. So he definitely won them over, and that's why he's, to a degree, the kingmaker right now. Listen, every time Donald Trump speaks these days, he mentions Bernie Sanders. You know, and obviously behind the scenes, Hillary's also going for those votes as well.
But Melissa, I think we talked about this last week. You're saying, let's see who actually shows up to come vote come November.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, I laugh so heartily when you hear people arguing, you know, whether they're celebrities or it's even when I hear people in the subway or whatever. And I always think to myself, I wonder if you're really going to vote when the day comes. There's so many people that are too lazy on the day that happens to actually go
raining,
all that kind of stuff. But I think for the young people, so I don't think any young people like Hillary Clinton. We've seen that in poll after poll. Whether they stay home or they go out and they vote for Donald Trump, maybe he can win some of them over. But that's the category where she really seems like she's hurting the most.
She comes off like a cranky grandma.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's attractive to young people about Donald Trump is he's got a little bit of swag, and he's also anti-authoritarian. And those are very similar, like especially the anti-authoritarian, anti-establishment thing that Bernie Sanders had going on, stoking that passion. I think Donald Trump has that as well. And although it may be in vogue, it may be popular to poo-poo the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, I think there are a lot of young people with whom his message and his delivery, more importantly, resonates.
We know that his daughter was an integral part of the letting go of Corey Lewandowski, Ivanka Trump. How much of his family do you think is playing a part with attracting the youth vote? He's got this beautiful, successful family. He brings them out on almost every stage.
I think you just said the words yourself. They don't even have to try. I think the optics of coming out on stage. Remember when he did that sit-down town hall? And there were, you know, and I said Ivanka's name because he has two daughters. They were both on stage, the younger one too.
Tiffany.
And you had and so you had the whole family. I mean, and their children off stage coming on and scampering on. I mean, I think the optics are enough to say that this is a man who is well-rounded. Isn't that what we kind of look at? It's not just the age thing for young people, but they kind of look and they say, well, who looks more like the family up there? Because exit polling has shown people are aspirational. I mean, they are. That's part of why they go.
And it helps that he had that early name recognition from The Apprentice, his reality television show.
Yeah, and I think Kennedy hit on it. You know, my son out the gate said he liked Trump because of the swagger. You know, kids like that. They really do. And a lot of kids in this country also aspire to be billionaires, you know, themselves. And you know, it's a natural fit for
And
them.
finally, it's a politician saying it's okay to want to be rich.
Right.
It's
Mitt ran from that. Yeah, Mitt ran from that huge mistake.
But also, sorry, to Harris's point, I mean, it's like a Portrait of Camelot. You know, if you take his family and just the way that looked, well, it's very Kennedy-esque. I mean, you've got
with
generations.
the exception of the fact that what he talks about is every person can do what he did in terms of finances and moving forward, and he's created jobs, so on and so forth. Not to put the Kennedys aside, but that was not really their. I mean, they were like national royalty at one point. I mean, that's how they were looked at.
Right, and it was inherited wealth versus wealth that was created, you know, which
well, he was given a little bit too.
Yeah.
But not like the Kennedys.
Also, I mean, when you look at the kids, a lot of people judge you by your kids and your relationship with your kids. And if you have kids that turned out well, if they still like you, that really says a lot about you.
But the optics that Kennedy points to, if there are people who kind of yearn for that.
Interesting.